Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 16th day of April, 2019. It's a 7 energy. It's also a Mars day, so try to keep all that impulse control in balance. Allow for other people's input and all of that when you're feeling like a leader today, and maybe you need to allow for someone else to help you out with that, someone else to have a voice. But anyway, if you haven't been here before, thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And if you have, thanks so much for coming back. If you haven't clicked subscribe yet, I'd love you to do that. And be sure to check out my blog, Stepping Aside, at imsteppingaside.com. I did not do what I said I was going to do yesterday and do the lunar transits. The moon is currently in Virgo, so I will just tell you, you may feel like taking care of, home stuff today, or taking care of bills, or, whatever. Just kind of Virgos are very practical, and they take care of business and all of that, so sometimes it can be a little bit focused on their health, so sometimes they can be worried about things. And so today you might check in with your health and make sure that it's going the way you want it to. You might think about joining a gym or something like that. Maybe use the Mars energy to maybe put something new in play in your personal life. Let's get started. We'll draw the first card. If you haven't been here before, I'm going to draw 3 cards, and then I'm going to draw a rune, and we're going to talk about it. But I'm going to do it randomly. I'm going to count 13, take the 13th card each time, so we're very, very random. So, and 13 is, you don't have to do that. That's just my thing. So anyway, let's get started. Well, we have the 7 of Swords, which I've always viewed as theft of intellectual property, but that's just me. Here you have a guy who's, well, you see the tents in the background. The soldiers are in the tent, perhaps relaxing after battle. They've left their swords outside. Now, swords is about the air element. It's about our intellect and reason and communication and all of that. But here you have somebody that is basically stealing. So are they stealing ideas? Are they stealing? Is this a strategic move? Is this someone from the opposing town or city or kingdom? Is this their opponent who's coming out and being stealthy and taking things? They've left their ideas out there. They've left it all out there on display for everybody to see, instead of keeping things close to the vest. And now someone's come along and taken it. Sometimes, you see this in jobs. You see this, at work where maybe one coworker takes someone else's idea, passes it off as their own, and gets credit for it with the boss, where the other person's going, excuse me? But you see, it never works out, does it? Well, I shouldn't say it never works out. Sometimes that person's believed, and the other person is, dealt with accordingly, but all too often it doesn't happen. And the person whose idea it really was, if there's not someone else out there to say, hey, wait a minute, that was her idea or his idea, then basically, you're just kind of stuck. Someone else has gotten credit for something they didn't deserve. This is not a balanced situation. Again, being a 7 energy, it mirrors today, doesn't it? It's synchronous with today, being a 7 energy. The energy of this card is basically suggesting that we might keep our strategy to ourselves, keep it a little more balanced, be aware of what's out there, the danger that's out there, and maybe not be so free with what you have. It's like when well, there goes a card. Hang on. It's like if I publish a tea blend on the blog, for example, obviously anyone can take that tea blend and go and make it, right? Because I'm publishing it. If I publish it in a book, I just did a book, I just published a book called Witch Notes. It's just a little book of correspondences, and it starts out with some herbalism stuff, some herbal magic, and just a little, but also it has some herbalism in it. So how to make different, how to make tea blends, how to make infusions, how to make salves and tinctures and things like oils and things like that. So there's a little bit on that. There's also some stuff on herb magic, and that's the beginning of that book. If I didn't want people to make the teas that I put in there, because I have a page in there that's got some teas that I made, that I created. If I didn't want you to do it, I wouldn't have put it in there, right? So if I didn't want you to know what was in it, then I wouldn't allow for the possibility that someone might take it and call it their own. I mean, I hope they don't, but they might. But in that respect, how I manifested the 7 in that decision to do it was that I was fine with that imbalance. So things don't have, in other words, things don't have to be 50-50 when you're trying to keep things in balance. And that's what, with swords, we're often trying to do. But here they didn't. They left it all out on display, unprotected. They just, and someone took advantage of it. I saw a thing on Twitter yesterday. I mean, this gal, she's very nice, okay? This is not a person who trolls. She's not a person who does anything, right? She's just a nice person on Twitter. She had something to say about the fire at Notre Dame, and she was just expressing her heartfelt grief and concern and all of that for everybody. And then trolls came out and just were brutal. They took that opportunity to just be awful to her. And it hurt her feelings. And she said so. So people surrounded her with some love and everything. Social media can be a brutal place, no matter what terms of service say, no matter what no matter what, it can be a brutal place. And if we go in there, it's easy to get our feelings hurt, even though we know that we're at Twitter, and that's what happens. You have to develop a really, tough exterior. It's hard to do, I'm an empath, so I feel the energy behind these things. It's tough. So I don't think about it. I just block. I don't even talk to the people. If someone says something unkind to me, I'll block them. Don't respond to them. Yeah, and I love the guys that want to DM me. Not advisable. Don't do that. You're being stupid. I'm not that girl. But the thing about, and I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up is that the thing about swords, we can feel like it's all coming at us, any uncomfortable things we're experiencing, but all too often, when the air element gets involved, so does this. And we often cause it either by things we say or we participate. If we don't cause it, we participate in it by the things we say, how we react, how we perceive things. This is all reflective of the air element and swords. So you could look upon this. We had this card last week or week before or something. I had it somewhere. It might have been in the monthly reading, but I don't know. But one of the things about this, it depends on perspective. And that's the thing about swords and the air element. We're talking about perspective. So if you look at this from the standpoint of the guys in the tent, well, maybe they're just tired from the battle and they just didn't know. They forgot. They left him out there. And now this guy's coming and taking him. The thing is like I said in the beginning, this guy could be, what if these soldiers are oppressive? What if they're doing something? What if they're not there in defense of something? What if they're there to rape and pillage and do all that a lot of them did? Okay. So here you could have this guy who's not in battle attire. He comes in like no one in particular, so he's not noticed. He could be from the place that's getting attacked. And he may simply be trying to level the playing field a little bit. That these are just innocent townspeople, innocent villagers, that are being, and this group of knights are coming in, and soldiers are coming in, and they're terrorizing everyone. And so all he's doing here is he's trying to rebalance the scales a little bit. And so in terms of the seven, that's really kind of how you probably need to look at this, even though as an author, I look at it as theft of intellectual property, but that's, I have an agenda. Okay, that's my agenda. That's my own personal bias. It was just, I just looked at it one day and thought, oh, theft of intellectual property. Yeah. Well, I think this is probably just, rebalancing the playing field a little bit, and getting someone who doesn't have the advantage, the martial advantage of being military, of being, the guys in the tents, that are so arrogant that they just left everything out there, not even paying any attention at all. And then the one with the lesser power comes in and uses his intellect to overcome that, you see. So that's what you have. It's kind of like today, being a 7-day on a Tuesday, you're going to try and use maybe intellect to sort of keep the passion at bay, maybe keep it a little bit in balance. And so in a sense, this card actually depicts today, or the energy of today. But let's draw another card. Maybe. Once these cards get bent enough, they get hard to just take one off the top, Queen of Pentacles. I love this queen. She's serene. She's compassionate. She's loving. I love that they have her depicted in an archway. You see roses up there, the garlands, well, it's probably not a garland. It's probably rose bushes that have grown up that way. But I love the throne. Isn't that just a beautiful throne? It's so earthy. Pentacles is about the earth element and our physical presence and form. It's about our security. She, being a queen, is a person in authority. She's an older woman. She would be considered the mother in the court cards. If she was a numbered card, you'd be 11, 12, she'd be 13. So right there, that's structure. So she's really about the foundation. She's really the heart, just as the Empress is the heart of the tarot. The queens are the heart of the tarot as well. Because, that's what an Empress is, a queen, is she not? So they're really the heart of the tarot. Not the kings, but the queens. I suspect that he might be protecting her, but let's see. And what it is that she stands for: benevolence and trust and fertility and abundance. And if this man in the 7 is not somebody who's just trying to level the playing field against oppressive people, because let's face it, kingdoms, the kings and the queens and all of that weren't known for their benevolence. They were rulers. That's what they did. And they weren't always nice about it. So he may be someone who's in disguise. And he could be acting on behalf of his queen to try to preserve what their particular kingdom has versus the other one. Let's draw a third card and see if that's where this is going, though. We don't know yet, do we? The thing about the court cards is you don't know. They do need someone to play off of. It could be the individual in question. It could be that you're an older person who needs to make some decisions here and needs to level the playing field, maybe in order to keep your security going. Maybe there's something oppressive happening in your life and you're just trying to find a way around it. So you're trying to get a little bit of strategy to deal with that. But let's do a third card. Well, we have the 13th card mirroring the Queen of Pentacles. We have the 13th card from the Major Arcana called Death. You can see him. I love the flag, don't you? I love the white rose. It's about transformation and purity, about spirit. You see, over here, do this opposite. I always get that wrong. Over here, you have a crown, and that's about spirituality. It's about spirit. But what he's doing here is this is a card for transformation. Actually, that's not a crown. That's a sun. I see why I thought it's because I thought that was the crown on that guy, but that's not. That's actually not a. That's not a king, is it? That's the Pope. That's a priest. And you see everybody. You can see people are lying on the ground. It actually looks like the king is lying dead on the ground. There's a couple of young people, and that's actually the sun rising, and that's a town behind. But I thought that was without my. Oh, in fact, also right there, if you look very, very closely, and I'm going to put the card back up there so you can see this. Look over where I said that was a crown. That's a sun. You can see there's the kingdom behind, but what you also see are two pillars, and it's coming up between two pillars. So it's a new doorway into a new existence. In a sense, it's a card of ascension, but it's a card of transformation into new things, into a new life, into new experiences, into a new way of being. Oh, that's adorable. They have around the horse, the bridle around the horse has got little skulls on it. That's cute. Death is a cool card. It doesn't matter what deck it's in either. But look over there. Okay, you see why I thought that was a crown, but it's not. And you see the two pillars? That's the doorway that's the doorway into transformation right there. And the guy below, that's not a king, that's a priest, and I think the king is down here. And you see why I say that? It's because of this white furry piece on his clothing. That denotes royalty. So that could likely be the king dead on the ground. So death is about change, but it's about our foundation. 13 is I view 13 as a witch number, as a master witch number, actually also 7. But if you bring it down, you see in master numbers, you don't reduce. So 11, 22, 33, 44, all of that, those are master numbers. So anyone else would reduce 13 to 4. But I tend not to. But for this purpose, I think we will. But the cycles of life, that's just our foundation. We focus into form for a short time, and then we move on. Traditionally, we come back into this particular same reincarnation cycle. Being in the ascension time right now, however, that may not be the case. That may be ending for folks. We may ascend to other dimensions and other densities and not, do the whole thing over again in the same way. It'll be a different, you're still progressing on. You're still going to be someone else, and embody something else in someone else. But it's not probably going to be in the same way that we've been doing it. At least that's what it seems to be. The different esoteric teachings out there are kind of saying that. So how we go about our transition may be different. As we awaken, to spirit within. But here, I think that, especially with the Death card and with the Queen of Pentacles, we're talking about our foundation. And so things may be a little bit in an uproar, or maybe they're in flux, or maybe something is maybe threatening us or something. And we need to figure out a way around it to preserve that. We might need to transform ourselves a little bit and step outside our comfort zone to make that happen. But I think that that's where we're going with this. That, well, it is. Anyway, so I'll tell you in a minute with the rune. Well, I'll just tell you. This is Hagelas, transformation within a fixed framework, which is what you have here. The fixed framework of the death card would be the cycle of reincarnation, okay? But here we're going to transform. In other words, in a sense, if you're reincarnating, you're doing it all over again. But do you want it to be done in the same way? No. And so for her, in order to preserve her foundation and her security, and because she's a person of authority, it may be that you're having to make a decision now about something that maybe is on behalf of other people, not just for yourself. So a more service to others type of a focus. Either someone's trying to jeopardize our security, or this actually comes second. So if we start out with the Queen of Pentacles, we have a situation where our security is in focus. This is what this is about. Either we need to be a little more strategic in how we protect that security, or something's happening to disturb that security. We need to pay attention. But some transformation is needed, either in terms of how we see things, how we perceive things could be the issue here. Maybe we've taken our eye off the ball and we've not really kept our own counsel, maybe. We've given ourselves away to other people, maybe. There's something inside of us, though, needs to change, and we need to make a different decision about it. And we need to maybe employ a little transformation, a little inner work, to maybe take a look at how do we process, how do we perceive things, how do we manifest our own security? Are we doing it at the expense of others, or are we doing it in service to others, maybe? So there's a lot of different ways that this can go. With Hagelas is the witch rune. Now, Hagelas is the 9th rune of the Elder Futhark, so there's an element or an energy of completion there. And when you think about it, you know, it's a water element, and it's a water element rune. And so what happens with this is maybe our emotions are in play here, but we really need things to change. So maybe some fear is involved, but we really need things to change. But we need to do it in a way that even though there might be some destruction, there's something left. You know, we die, our body goes away, but our soul doesn't, and so we reincarnate into another body. There's an example of destruction within a fixed framework, the fixed framework being the soul, the body being what's temporary. But the energy of the 13 aligns with the Queen of Pentacles, doesn't it? Because it's about foundation and structure. It aligns well with Hagelas, because what is the witch all about? The witch is all about creating change and advocating for change, but not so that there's nothing left. We want to leave something better in its stead, in its wake, right? So when a witch casts a spell or casts her intention or his intention to effect a change, basically, we're doing it within a fixed structure. We're doing it within a structure of protection so that life can go on, in other words. So if something bad is happening and a witch casts a spell to stop what's bad, we want to leave what's good so that people can remain and continue on in their lives, right? So that's interesting. So we have a Queen of Pentacles, so our earthly foundation, our physical structure, our security, our finances. And we're having to be a little strategic, possibly, or a situation has been created because we haven't been, and someone else has come in and done something. But either way you look at it, clearly a transition needs to be made, some kind of transformation into some new type of perception or new type of thinking in order that we can take out whatever. I mean, realistically, if the tower were sitting here, it would truly. I mean, we could draw. It'd be interesting. I wonder if I draw a fourth card, if it'll be the tower. Let's do that, because there is another manifestation of the tower. We drew the tower yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday, and basically there we're seeing something external comes in, such as Hagalaz. So here we have that external force, which I'm going to say is the soul, actually. It's not some witch floating around going, okay, I'm going to go and affect change in people's lives. What this is the soul coming in and saying, you know what? We're going to have a different perspective here on this. Let's see if I draw the tower. No, but I did draw the Ace of Wands, which reinforces all of it. Beginning of will, beginning of creativity, beginning of manifestation. So it reinforces the idea of death, but does it not? So in order to secure our foundation, either we need a new strategy or we need to pay attention to something that's happening that we need to find a way around, don't we? And it might require a new way of thinking completely that then allows us then to manifest something new. And if that's not an expression of Hagalaz, I don't know what is. I mean, it's total, here's the problem. We're going to find a way to fix it. We're going to get rid of what doesn't matter, what doesn't work, and we're going to have what's left. And that's going to be how we proceed on. So I think that's definitely the order of this. So we'll start with the Queen. We'll go on then to the Seven of Swords, then to Death, then to Hagalaz, and then to the Ace of Wands. Well, I wrote in the geomancy reading for the month and also the tarot reading for the month that April seems to be all about new beginnings and doing things differently. So I guess now we've now this has now become a 4-card reading. I don't know. Be kind of cool. This is the second 4-card reading I've done. I normally just stop at 3, but it just kind of felt like, hey, you know what? I need to do another one. It would have been really cool though, wouldn't it? If it had been the tower, that'd have been awesome. Be like, yes. Well, that's interesting. Well, all right. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else to say. I'm sure there probably is, but I can't think of anything. Not bad for a Tuesday, though. Make use of that Mars energy here to, get something done. Don't be afraid to think differently. You can do that. It's fine. It's not flip-flopping. Don't you hate that? It's like, it's one thing if someone really, really does that, where they say whatever they say because of who they're with, and they don't, this is how I really believe. But sometimes you can change your mind about stuff, and that's okay. I mean, isn't that what you want people to do? If they're thinking wrongly, don't you want them to change? So you see politicians and one time they say one thing, next time they say another. Well, are they really doing that? Or did they evolve? Did they learn something? And now it's like, you know what? I don't think that anymore. I used to think that, but I don't think that anymore, So don't be afraid, I guess the moral of this is don't be afraid to change your perception on something. If something isn't working, don't keep doing it. Don't assume that it's someone else's problem, maybe it's your own perception of it. And maybe just thinking a little bit outside of the box might give you the energy and the will to manifest something new. So anyhow, well, cool. All right, well, I guess I will see you tomorrow. If you can get outside today and work in the garden, do so. If you have to work if you're at work and you can't, well, maybe you can come home and after dinner or something, go out in your yard and pull a weed, or, if it's a dandelion, carefully pull it. If the flowers are out, don't pull it. Let the bees have it. But if the dandelion is good size and it's and it's likely going to have a good sized root. It's not a first-year dandelion. Carefully dig it up. Carefully wash it off. Don't put too much water on it. Don't soak your roots. You'll ruin them. You basically make a tea out of them. And then, chop it up. Put it in a small pan. Maybe pour, I don't know, a couple cups of water over it, 4 cups of water. Fill the pan up halfway. I don't know, whatever. And then simmer it. Don't boil it. Just simmer it for about 20 minutes. And then you can add whatever other herbs you want to. Maybe go and take the leaves from the dandelion root that you just dug up, wash them off, chop them up, stick them in there in the hot water that was boiling, that you just, well, not boiling, simmering. Take it off the element, remove it from heat, put your dandelion leaf in there with the dandelion root. If you got any plantain leaves out there, go get those, put them in there. If you have any red clover coming up, put that in there. You have any cleavers or chickweed, get a little of that, throw that in there. Don't put it back on the heat though. You could do that, and then see what else you could get out of your yard, out of your lawn. Yeah, just do that, and then put the lid back on. Don't put it back on the heat, and then just let it steep for maybe 20 more minutes. Strain it out. You have a lovely tea. So. Help you start your day. Get all the cooties out of your body, all the toxins out of your body. If you're feeling like you have allergies, add a little. And you have stinging nettle on your property, be blessed. Use some gloves, but go snip that off. Put that in your tea water as well, and let that steep along with it. Nettle is amazing. It is an amazing plant. Don't be afraid of it. Yes, it will. If you touch it, it's going to react, but it is an amazingly healing plant. Tincture it, make it as a tea, whatever you do. It's a bitter tasting plant, and so you're definitely going to want to sweeten it with some honey or some sugar, whatever you want. But so it is kind of, but the thing about those type of herbs is what they also do is they help with digestion. So you definitely want to include them in as part of your tea regimen or your infusion regimen, because this is not tea bags worth, okay? We're going to make it soppy in there, okay? And then you're going to strain it out and you're going to enjoy it, and it's going to make you feel really great. It's going to keep everything moving through your body, and nothing's going to get stuck and toxic. So it's a really nice tea to have. So blessings to you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. Blessed be.